So news topic number one is Colorado man dies after getting bit by his pet. So his pet was actually a Gila monster, I believe is what it's called, Gila or Gila. It's this giant reptile. If you're watching on the video, I'm gonna pull that little reptile on the screen. But it's this giant lizard. It's like that matador lizard, if I'm correct. It's basically like a giant lizard that if you look at it, its size looks like it could probably eat a human being. But this suspected lizard, this pet, is being put on blast because it can be venomous with a bite, and of course this man got bit by his lizard. And I'm surprised it's in Colorado, because a lot of times we hear about these crazy animals more in like Texas, Florida, these southern states. Like we always hear about the Florida gators or those Texas lions or tigers that people always have. Even that one Tiger King dude, wasn't he in Texas or something, or Louisiana or somewhere in the South? So that's that's pretty wild, where you raise a wild animal. I'm not even sure if these Gila monsters are even legal in Colorado or not, but he's a 34-year-old male. R.I.P. I'm not laughing at him or laughing at his situation, but he did pass away after having to be put on life support. So this is crazy. He got bit by his own pet. It just shows you that these animals, the animals that are considered exotic or a little bit harder to get, you could say their instinct is more of an animal instinct than, for example, dogs. Like dogs, you don't really hear about someone getting bit by a dog and then dying, right? How often do we hear in the news where somebody got bit by their own dog? Maybe they'll nibble on you or whatever, or when you accidentally maybe step on their tail or whatever, they might come at you just for a minute. But you don't hear about typical cats, dogs, fish, birds going after their owners. It's always like these exotic animals. So this made me kind of dig a little bit deeper into the whole illegal pet trade, and I got some interesting information I'm going to share with you guys. So in 2020, a survey done by the World Animal Protection Agency, it's a nonprofit foundation, and their estimates were that about 17.6 million animals are here in the U.S. in 9 million households. So they're saying that about 17 million animals, exotic animals, are, you could say, being held or are pets in the United States, which is crazy, because that's a lot of animals, right? I know I imagine myself having like a maybe Arctic fox when I was younger. That would always be cool to have. But just to give you guys an idea of how much exotic animals there actually is in the U.S., it's 17.6 million of these animals, and 51% of these are reptiles and 26% are birds. I was surprised by the birds because I'm not really a big bird guy. I was never big into bird watching, but I do enjoy the occasional time where I do run into maybe a cardinal or a blue jay. I always say, hey, that's a nice bird. It's really red. It's pretty cool. This blue jay is real cool. It's a nice blue. Or even when you see the great American eagle fly above, you're like, damn, that's a pretty cool bird. But never really thought about owning one myself. But if I was to pick a bird to own, I would probably do like a falcon. I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of falconeering, but that was always something super cool, where you have like a falcon on your arm and then it's able to stay there, and then you could have it retrieve like a smaller bird or some kind of rodent, and it flies back to you and returns it. That's always cool. I watched a couple of documentaries about falconeering, and I'm pretty sure it was about falconeering. It was about like bird training or something like that, and they actually blindfold the bird and have it focus on its like hearing or perception or whatever the bird kind of does, or whatever senses it uses. I'm pretty sure it's hearing, because obviously not sight, right, because it's blindfolded. But they blindfold this bird to have it adapt to finding things or catching things with its other senses, not its vision. So I guess what this does, makes the bird's other senses a lot stronger than when it has the blindfold taken off. It's able to use his vision now, but those other senses are so much stronger, you could say, where it allows this falcon or this bird to be able to be a better hunter. Even it prepares them to hunting at the nighttime, because at nighttime it's harder to see. So it just focus on those senses. And I always thought that was cool. I was like, damn, that would be pretty cool being like a falconer. And when I was in Thailand, I'm trying to figure out what kind of bird was it. Well, there was like a person with, I'm not sure it was a falcon, it was a giant bird. And they actually let me hold this bird for a little bit. Then this thing, like, when I was looking at its eyes and it was looking back at me, I was a little bit scared. I'm like, damn, this bird right now, first of all, like on this mountain, it seems like if this bird starts to freak out, I'm probably going to fall off the mountain. I'm probably going to die. Or this bird could just, with its talons, just tear my face apart. And it looked like it was thinking, when you look at a bird right in the eyes and you just feel like it's thinking about something, like thinking, like, how you have those thoughts about maybe like, doing something bad. I feel like that bird was having those thoughts doing something bad, but it was like, these are just my thoughts. I'm a very mentally healthy bird, and I'm not going to do this to this poor human. And, let me do my thing. So I was able to hold it, and that was pretty cool. And I started freaking out a little bit at the end, so the person took that bird away from me. But I was surprised that 26% of birds in the United States, or 26% of those 17.6 million exotic animals, are birds. Because, like I said, birds are cool, but they're not the most fascinating things to me besides those big birds. But so I kind of understand why people might like those birds. So with that in mind, I did a little scholarly Google search of some of the most popular animals that are in this illegal pet trade. I think is it illegal pet trade if you're allowed to have them? So I'm not sure if this is illegal pet trade or just like this exotic pet trade. So if I'm making the mistake of this, I'm sorry. I also burned my tongue real bad before the episode, drinking some hot coffee. I had to take the cap off. I burned my tongue, so if I sound a little funny, it's because my whole tongue is burnt. But but yeah. So I did a little list of like interesting animals that they do bring in for this exotic animal trade here in the United States. So the first one was a white lion. And a fun fact about tigers, lions in general, or felines, I guess, would it be called? I'm not sure what the overarching term for lions and just big cats is. But fun fact is that there are more tigers here in captivity and as pets than there are seen in the wild worldwide. So that's pretty cool. Most of those are going to be in Texas. Yeah, pretty insane that there's more tigers here in captivity than there is in the wild in the whole entire world. More than Africa, more than India, more than Bangladesh, Thailand, all those places where I think tigers naturally thrive in. Another cool one that I found is the Brazza monkey. It's a highly intelligent monkey, and they're known for their distinctive white beard. So I'll pull one up on the screen, and those look like wise monkeys. Like, how you see a person, let's just say a person of wisdom, or when you picture a person of wisdom, usually it's some dude with like a beard, some long hair. He just looks like old, but looks scholarly and looks intelligent. Well, let me tell you, if I was to own a monkey, I'll probably go for one of these, and I'm pretty sure it could probably teach me how to read a book better than I know how to read a book myself. They look real cool. They have this cool white beard. Another cool animal is a Savannah cat. It's a cross between a like regular domesticated cat and something called a serval, which is basically a wild cat. So a Savannah cat is bred by taking a domesticated cat and then taking a wild cat and having them produce an offspring. These cats look super, super cool. I'm allergic to some cats, but I always found cats super, super fascinating, just the way that they interact and just the way that they act and personalities, because they're a lot different than a dog. A dog is like always your best friend. They always want to play catch. But cat is like, cat thinks they're on like an even playing field. Like, this is not just your house. This is my house. And I'm going to do whatever I want in this house. And you can just do whatever you want in this house too. But, we'll get along. That's how I feel how a cat thinks versus like a dog is like, more of like a I don't want to say a partner, but more of like a kind of like a more of a servant in a way. It's more serviceful, I guess. Like, play with you whenever you wanted to. It's always happy when you come home. It's always like, what are we doing next? Let's go on a walk. Let's do this, do that. Versus like a cat's more of like, hey, I'm gonna do my thing, you could do your thing, and then when we come together, we'll kind of figure it out, and then we'll kind of move forward in that kind of a playing field. Another cool one is a chimpanzee. That's obviously a classic. If I was not to get the Brazza monkey, I'll definitely get a chimpanzee. But I feel like chimpanzees get a little big and a little lengthy, so I feel like that might be a little bit of an issue if I was to raise it maybe like in a condo. But I don't know, chimpanzees are cool, but I was always a little more fond of like either gorillas or the smaller monkeys. Chimpanzees I feel like are in between. I mean, I ain't no animal biologist or whatever, so my limited on monkey knowledge and chimpanzee knowledge is limited. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like chimpanzees are kind of like the in between of like gorillas and like the small monkeys. I'm more of like a either go big or go home, get the gorilla, because if I was to get fucked up by a monkey, I'd rather say, hey, I got messed up by a gorilla versus like a chimpanzee. But it's also cool to have a smaller monkey because those are always like jumping around, always moving, always messing with people, always doing some kind of always doing some shit. Versus like chimpanzees, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Might as well either go big, go home, or get the wild small guys, and you have some fun with those bad boys. The last one is a Fennec Fox. So this is super cool. I actually saw a Fennec Fox when I was at a dispensary in Thailand, because as a kid, my favorite animal was like the Arctic fox and owls. I always like Arctic foxes and owls. I don't know why. I think Arctic foxes were always cool because they're white. Like how often do you see like a purely white fox? Almost like seeing a purely white cat. You don't see it too often. At least I haven't seen purely white cats too often, you know what I'm saying? So I always found those to be cool, and there was those cool ears, and they're a little bit playful, but a little more aggressive, so it's always interesting. So Fennec Fox is another popular one. It usually lives in a Sahara desert and anywhere where it's kind of a desert landscape, lots of times in North Africa. And this guy actually had a Fennec Fox, and he just kept it in a cage, and then he let it roam around, and he actually offered to sell me one, not the one that he had, but he's like, hey, if you want one, let me know, and I could help you get one. And I was kind of debating, but then I'm like, hey, how the hell am I going to raise this thing, keep this thing? Because I don't even know how I'm going to get it through Border Patrol, It's not like, not the most easy animal to get across, especially when you buy it at a different country. I don't even know how transporting a pet works state to state, so I don't even know how big of a headache it's going to be from importing a Fennec Fox into the United States. I don't even know if Illinois even allows Fennec Foxes or Feexes or whatever. So besides a pass, but I do have that guy's contact information, and maybe one day when I do touch my knowledge and literature level up about the exotic pet market, maybe I will eventually get one for myself.